Good morning, everyone. My name is Jon Stewart. I'm the owner of Calumet Media, a company based in the Pontiac. Recently, I did a presentation with SADC Pontiac at their Mingle Jingle, a little holiday celebration a couple days ago in Fort Coulonge at the SADC offices. Unfortunately, it was at 7:30 in the morning, so a lot of you couldn't attend. And also, unfortunately, some of my video recording didn't quite work out. So I'm going to redo the video here for all of you who missed the presentation. I want to thank some of the questions that we had during the presentation itself. We've actually made a couple of adjustments and some additions to it to answer some of your questions. But as I said, this is the first party data presentation for the Jingle Mingle that was presented in mid-December in Fort Coulonge. Again, my name is Jon Stewart. Today we're going to be talking about privacy in the law. So when you're collecting any sort of data, you have to make sure that you're actually abiding by all laws and making sure that you're keeping all the information private. We'll talk about the different types of data and what you can actually use it for. We'll talk about cookies, everyone's favorite holiday little treat. We'll talk about future uses of data, and we'll end with a business example, showing you a little bit of a case study and how you can actually use the data that's available to you as a business owner. So we'll start off with probably the most boring and most dense of subjects, the law. Loi 25, Bill 25, was recently passed by the Quebec government. It comes from a data breach that happened in 2019, where nearly 9.7 million Canadians had a lot of very personal information stolen from them, or at least put on the dark web for people to take. A large portion of those people were in the province of Quebec, and the government of Quebec decided that with all this information being out there, it was time to actually put a bill in place to protect people, and that's why Loi 25 came about. It covers the collection and storage of all data, all personal data, whether that's digitally or in physical form as well. It was passed a couple of years ago and has been implemented over the past few years. The end goal is to finish that implementation by 2024, September next month or next year, and that's going to be the end of the rollout. So the law is in effect today. There are things that you have to do today, and there are more things coming that you'll have to do coming up in 2024 as well. What are those things? Key points. You must obtain consent before you collect any form of data. Consent is sexy. You have to make sure that you ask for permission before you start collecting any sort of data from people. You also have to explain what you're going to do with the data. You can't just willy-nilly collect data and say, well, we'll figure it out later. You actually have to give the person who's giving you that data some information on what you're going to be doing with it, and specifically who has access to it. So, for example, I'm an agency that works with several clients here locally in the Pontiac, and as a result, I have access to personal data on their customers. In the client's privacy policy, and we'll talk about privacy policies in a second, you're going to have to disclose that I, as a third-party agency, will have access to their phone numbers, their email addresses, etc. And what do I plan on doing with it? It's the same thing as what you're doing with it to help with marketing, etc. You must allow people to opt out of data collection, so they can say, no, I don't want my data collected. Now, that could actually change the relationship with what you can do with a business or from a business to your customer. There's possibility that if you can't collect any data, you can't do any sort of business. So that is potentially a two-way street that you're going to have to explore if someone does opt out of any sort of collection overall. And you need to have a process in case someone does say, hey, I'm curious, what do you have in terms of data on me? I'd like a copy of all the data from me. And you need to have a process internally so that you can actually provide that data when that person asks for it. What do you need to do as a business? There are a couple of key things you need to do right now, essentially. One is to draft a privacy policy. This policy should be inclusive of all the information we just talked about in the last slide and a couple other things as well. It should name a privacy officer. So someone in your organization must be anointed this privacy officer title, and that allows them to be the person that anyone could contact if they have issues about privacy. And they own all the data. They own all the information. They own all of the uses of it as well. So they understand what data they have, where it's located, and where that data is going to be used for. Now, the privacy officer can be internally, and if you don't declare one, it's going to be the owner of the business. So if you're the owner looking at it, congratulations, you just got a new title added to you. But you can anoint someone in your organization, whether that be another manager or an employee, or you can anoint someone third party outside of your organization. So an agency like myself could potentially be your privacy officer. And I have some clients who collect very little information, most of it's digital, and they've made me their privacy officer in the time being, since I know where all the pixels and the data is located. You can't use existing data without consent. So if you collected data prior to Bill 25 and you did not have consent, which for a lot of people, they may not have actually explicitly asked for it, that data is now useless to you. You're not supposed to use it. Are people using it? they are. They're not supposed to. Some people are trying to sort of thread the needle a little bit and actually ask for permission. They're actually going out to everyone that they have emails from and saying, you're now consenting to communication, etc., from us, unless you opt out. And here's a very clear opt out. So that's not quite what the law is meant to say and do, but for some businesses, that's how they're managing the consent with existing data. You have to determine how long you need that data for. So if you're dealing with a customer and let's say that relationship ends, do you need that data for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? It could be very long that you require that data. You need to declare that you're going to be keeping it for that period of time, and then you have to delete that afterwards as well. And by the way, there are certain other laws that have to be followed where you actually keep data on customers or employees, and employee data is a whole other scenario as well. And if those laws say you always have to keep them, you always have to keep them. You just have to note in your privacy policy that you're abiding by all the laws, and Bill 25 doesn't trump other laws that you were required to specifically. So healthcare has a lot of different legislation around that specifically. And I mentioned employee data. If you don't collect any data, and a lot of businesses here in the Pontiac have very little data collection on their website, if at all. If your website's 10 years old and you don't have Google Analytics, you're not using a Facebook pixel, you don't have a contact form, you have very little digital data that you're capturing. You probably still have an email address, which may have some personal information, so you still have to declare that. But regardless, let's just say you're a complete Luddite. You use nothing but paper for everything. You don't have a digital footprint at all. If you have an employee, you have employee data. You have maybe their banking information because you do direct deposit. You have potentially health information or marital status and all that information. That is something that needs to be kept private. And you as a business need to actually abide by those laws. And the last thing is your website probably needs to be updated. So if you are doing any data collection like analytics, and by default, most clients should have a Google Analytics or an equivalent on their site running so that they can actually see how many people are running on their website. They need to do some updates. Make sure that there's a prompt that allows the cookie that tracks them. If they have a contact form, there has to be a checkbox to opt into communication from them as well. And of course, as we mentioned earlier on this page, you need a privacy policy. If you don't have a privacy policy on your website needs to be updated with that policy. The penalties for not doing it are substantial. Now, the wonderful thing is right now they're not really enforcing the law fully. They are starting to, but we are in this sort of gray zone period right now where business owners can still try to move forward, but may not have all of the law abided by. But that's going to change, and we think with a full implementation by September of 2024, the enforcement is going to come into full effect. So if you are caught not doing the things that you're supposed to, the penalties are substantial, ranging from anywhere from $15,000 to tens of millions of dollars, depending on how big the data breach is and how serious it is. That one that happened in 2019 would have been tens of millions of dollars. And before you do anything, I want to say I'm not a lawyer. I may play one on TV, but I don't know the intricacies of your specific business. And if you collect very personal data that's specific to your industry, healthcare being a good example, I encourage you to talk to a lawyer first. But very basically, before you do any of the data things that I'm talking about, Ryan, you need to make sure that you're Bill 25 compliant. You've got a privacy policy, you've got your privacy officer, you're explaining what you're doing, and you're getting consent. If you've got all those things down, let's have some fun with what you can do with data. Don't be scared. There's a lot of things that could go sideways with data, but there's a lot of benefit to businesses when they actually put together a strong data strategy and they actually leverage that data to do the things that business owners want to do with their business: grow their business, find new leads, retain customers, increase engagement with potential customers, or even with staff as well. And those benefits can be as simple as marketing. Target those who are already familiar with their business, or better yet, have shown an interest in your business. Or find people who look like your customers. So, and we'll talk about specific examples later, but if you have data on your customer base, you're able to use that to only advertise to those people. So if they've bought something from you in the past, you may want to sell them something else. Let's say you're a car dealership. You sold them a car. Well, maybe you now want to sell service. Maybe you want to sell a snow tire. Maybe you want to sell something else over and above. You could potentially use that data to target them specifically. You can target specifically people who have shown an interest but haven't become a customer yet. Maybe they filled out a lead generation form. Maybe they visited a specific page on your website that's designed to attract new visitors. You're able to then use the data you're collecting to specifically target those people. You're not going to shotgun out to everyone in the world because not everyone's going to buy your business or buy your products. The other part of this, and I want to thank Trevor from Lacedowne Farms for bringing up lookalike customers, because this is a hugely powerful tool as well. Examples like Facebook. So if I upload a list of email addresses from my current customers, what Facebook will do is it'll match those with the people that are on their platform. And if they use the same email address, it's a very easy match. And then what Facebook does is it says, okay, these types of people like all these other things that are on Facebook, and they interact in all these other ways. I want to find people who are identical or very near identical to those types of people, but just have not made a purchase yet. So they have all the criteria to potentially become a customer, but they have not actually made that purchase yet. That type of lookalike profiling or lookalike modeling is hugely impactful for business. It can actually help bring down your costs for advertising. Customer retention. So after you've got them, what do you do with customers? Well, data can be used to get to know your customers better, making sure that you're following up on key points on their buying journey. So after they buy that car, you're making sure that within 3 months you're starting the servicing. Come in for an oil change, here's a discount. Come in to get your snow tires put on, here's a discount. You could specifically target them at key points in their decision-making process, whether that's prior to the decision or after them once they become a customer as well. You could be using it for business planning. Data is good to make decisions. You should be making fact-based decisions as a business owner, and using data to actually implement and execute your decisions and making sure that you're going along the right way, tracking everything and seeing your progress is huge to plan your business. And then automation. We live in a world right now where we don't have enough time as business owners. We have 15 things that we've got priority at any given moment, and there's not enough hours in the day. If we are able to automate our processes, maybe moving data from one section to another, maybe consolidating all that data down to one place so we no longer have to go hunting for the information we are looking for, that's going to save us time. And technology is all about saving us time and effort. So makes us as business owners and even your employees a lot more efficient in their world if they're able to automate a lot of their processes. So what types of data are you gathering? There could be personal information that you're gathering, like names and birth dates and marital status. The basic information that you would fill out in a profile when you're creating something on your website. That's the basic information. Contact information is probably the most important information. How do I get in touch with you? Email addresses are golden. They are worth the most amount of data you could collect, because you can use it for other purposes as well. You may have a MailChimp newsletter that you never really send a newsletter up, but you're collecting those email addresses. Those emails can be used for other purposes. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. Engagement. So are you actually tracking how often people engage with the content that you're creating? On Facebook, if you're just posting out into the void and you're not seeing any numbers and you're not seeing any engagement, or better yet, you're not tracking people coming back to your website and actually making a purchase or filling out a form, data can help you understand what is working and what is not working, and how you can actually massage your content production to be more efficient. So produce less of what's not working, produce more of what is working for the goals of your business. You can also use data to find intent. So are you interested in or going to be buying a product or a service in the near future? I used to run advertising at the Ottawa Citizen, and the real estate category was the biggest category that we had. Home builders are huge. They have a lot of money, and they can spend a lot of money. We would have some data on our audiences about who is interested in buying a home. How long in the future are you planning on buying a home? 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years down the line? And that information allowed us to then target some of our advertising for those home builders, knowing that, they are starting to make their decision a year out from actually buying a home. So we want to make sure we're hitting them specifically at that period of time. And again, we talked about this earlier, lead generation forms. If you have a form for a download for more information on your website for a product or a service, they've shown intent. They're actually looking for your product. You want to target them specifically with advertisement for that product. Different types of data types. You've probably heard of first party. You've definitely heard about it because it's sort of what we're talking about today. First party data is data that you collect yourself for your own purposes. So I have a form on my website. I'm collecting information on people there. They're filling it out. It's going to my databases. I don't share it with anyone else. That's my own first party proprietary data. Second party is very similar to first party. I own it as a business owner, but I have someone else collect it. So I may have an agency, maybe a survey company is a good example. They may be doing a phone survey of potential customers in the area, and they're collecting all that data. They're giving that data to me because I'm paying them for it, and then that's it. They're not doing anything else with that data. So that becomes second party data. That is kind of like first party data. Third-party data is the other type of data that you hear a lot about. Third-party is data someone else collects and sells to a lot of different people. That's done in a lot of different ways. There are third-party data brokers out there who specialize in gathering data and selling it to business owners. There are those who give access to it through platforms like the Google Ad Network. Facebook has third-party data that you can access. You can target people who have specifically interests in, let's say, shopping or buying a car or buying a home. There are those third-party data that you have access to. Third-party data is becoming more and more complicated to get. And Bill 25 and other laws like that are specifically trying to limit the amount of third-party data that you can collect. Apple and their most recent, or one of the most recent versions of iOS, I think it was 14, also eliminate a lot of third-party cookies. And Chrome in the next year is expected to eliminate third-party cookies as well. So that means all these other third-party data collectors are going to have to redo their business. Just focusing back on first-party data is where you need to go, so you can actually control the data and make sure you're using it appropriately as well. So how do you collect data? What do you do to actually get all this information? You can buy it. Like I said earlier, there are sellers out there who actually do give you lists of email addresses or potential customers. It's hugely powerful in the business-to-business, the B2B world. So I can get a list of, let's say, business owners of the Pontiac, someone who's gone through, made all the phone calls, collected all the email addresses, and gives me a list of names of businesses and their contact information that I could follow up with. Or potentially people who are buying a hot tub, or people who are buying a car, or people who are buying a home. That information does exist out there, and they do sell that information to people. Cars are a good example. There's a company called Canada Drives out there. Canada Drives collects information. They do a lot of advertising. You've probably seen them on TV. They collect a lot of information on people who are buying cars, specifically the make, the model, the year, how much they're willing to pay, and where they're located. And what Canada Drives does is it sells that information back to car dealers, normally for quite an expensive amount of money. One car dealership I was dealing with was paying $80 per email address just to get that information of someone who's interested in buying a car, and they could justify that $80 cost if they were able to sell that car because they make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever that number is off the price of the car. So, like I said, you can buy that data from specific suppliers if it's available to you. You could passively gather it, which, we're going to be talking about cookies in a few minutes. Your website is possibly passively gathering some information on people indirectly. You may not have specific information on the individual, but you have information on the type of individual, and you aggregate it together. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. Or you can aggregate, or you can, actively gather it. You can specifically ask for information through through forms that are on your website to, help with leads and any contacts, or you could go and gather it yourself. You can publicly, search through websites. If you have phone numbers and email addresses that are on people's website, that's public data. That's not covered by Bill 25. You can collect all that information you want to and potentially use them to market towards as well. So there's lots of different ways of actively gathering it, and forms are probably the most common way for you to do so. But not surprisingly, forms come in a lot of different forms. Sign-up forms are common. So if you're using for a newsletter or an event or any sort of other become a member, login information, you're gathering some information on a sign-up form. You could be doing surveys, using MailChimp to send out a survey to your audience potentially and say, hey, can you give us some thoughts on what you're looking to buy, potentially how we are doing from a performance perspective. Feedback forms are hugely important, and you can use that data to help target and make your business better as well. You could be doing contest entries, and contests are huge. I worked in radio for 10 years, and contests make radio work. It was crazy how I could throw out a contest on my website and with a client and be able to gather a number of people who were interested in the product. So hot tub, I mentioned hot tub earlier. If I'm giving away a hot tub and you're entering to win a hot tub and you can't take a cash prize or anything, you got to take the product, you probably have a home, because if you're in an apartment, you don't get a hot tub, you're not entering that. You probably aren't interested in the hot tub. You probably don't already have a hot tub or are looking to upgrade, and you are looking for this product, and it's something that you can potentially afford to maintain because you're actually looking for it. Contest entries increase engagement, get people back to your website, but they also collect that valuable data that you're potentially going to be able to use for other advertising. So if you're giving away a contest on your website, making sure you collect that data and make sure you're using it for marketing purposes and finding more customers after the contest is over. You could be doing it through contact forms. Similar to a sign-up form, you need to reach out. So rather than just putting an email address, you may put a form together. That form could automatically enter into a database. So I have a form on my website that goes into my CRM, Salesforce, and we'll talk about CRMs in a second. So all that information is there in my database. I don't have to touch it. And a very specific type of contact form or request form is a request for a quote form. So this is used by a lot of B2B businesses who are, or it could be B2C. Let's say you're a landscaping company and you have a backyard that needs to be resodded. You may want to put in, in this form, the size, the slope, there's other information you may want to gather so that you can actually generate a quote for them. It's the ultimate lead for you because they're actually looking for a price, but it's information that you can use to be able to target the future as well. E-commerce form, another good example. So you can manage your order fulfillment using the form, collect payment, shipping, billing information. All that is saved by the form. Where you are at in the customer journey is potentially another piece of data. So maybe someone doesn't actually activate and buy something right away. They may add to cart and come back later. You can use that data specifically, someone who didn't make a purchase, and potentially target them too. Data storage methods. So once you get all this information, what do you do with it? Where do you store it? Where do you keep it? The first and the easiest one is to form a database. Databases can be incredibly simple. Excel or Google Sheets is a form of database. Could be saved locally on your hard drive. It could be in the cloud, but you store your data, you structure your data with names and email addresses and phone numbers, and potentially the last time they visited your website or purchased as well. All that information is stored in a database. It could be very structured. QuickBooks is a good example. They deal with invoicing as well. So you can use it as a database to gather all your client information, but it also does other things for you. You can use a specific marketing platform that specializes in a specific type of marketing. So MailChimp being a good example of that. You may have a database of all your email addresses of all your customers in there. Some have opted in for newsletters, some have not. All that information is available for you in the marketing platform itself. And I mentioned CRMs earlier, like Salesforce. So for me as a business-to-business seller, I don't sell to consumers, I sell to other business owners. I use a CRM to be able to manage all my interactions. All my email address or all my email contacts are tracked, all my phone calls are tracked, all my notes are tracked. I have information on the business owner as I've continued to develop the relationship with them as well. And I can use that to upsell and continue that relationship as we go along. So a customer relationship management software or CRM, hugely important for business. Especially in the B2B world as well. And for a lot of us as business owners, we may have 1, 2, 3. I've got everything. Like all my connections or all my databases are all over the place. I've got about a half dozen different databases where information is collected. It's often stored in very siloed systems, independent systems that don't talk to each other. Does this sound familiar to you as well? You may have Salesforce, you may have MailChimp, you may have QuickBooks, and between you and the customer, you've got a couple different places where that data could be stored. There is software out there, and Zapier is a really good example of that, that will automate that process and make those connections essentially seamless. So for instance, I mentioned earlier, I have a contact form on my website. If you actually fill out a form for inquiry, you go automatically into my CRM where I start to collect data on you. You automatically go into my MailChimp newsletter database, so I can potentially target you. You potentially go into a Facebook audience profile that I've created as well, so I can potentially target you. So I've got a couple, and QuickBooks as well. So if we eventually become a customer, a paying customer, it automates the process of including all that information into QuickBooks. So I don't have to worry about manually transcribing. And more importantly, I don't have to worry about making errors and messing up and providing the wrong information in the system. So automation tools like Zapier make things a lot easier to work through. I love this photo. Cookies and harvesting cookies. Not these type of cookies. I'm a big fan of both types of cookies, but these types of cookies help business and help marketing. So they allow us to help track our potential customers over multiple devices: your phone, your desktop, etc., your smart TV. Even cookies allow you to actually find people and making sure that you're targeting the right type of person. Cookies can provide personalized and non-personalized data. So when it comes to personalized, this is when you log into let's say a bank. Your bank drops a cookie on your computer when you log into your online banking, because it needs to keep your login information fresh while you go from page to page. It's part of the user experience. If you were to say, no, I don't want cookies, you couldn't use online banking because it can't tell who you are when you log in because of that. Cookies are important. So this includes personalized data that they have. Could include things like what pages you visited and what your shopping preferences are as well. You can go that in depth. You can also use non-personalized data. So this focuses on aggregating data, gathering things together, and analytics is a huge non-personalized data collector. Everyone who visits your website, you're able to determine how they got to your website, where the person's generally located, what pages they saw, and how often they come back, and did they actually become a client potentially? Did they buy something or did they fill out a form? All this information is available through your analytics. And analytics, provides pretty graphs. This looks like a heartbeat. It really is the heartbeat of the business. I can tell this business, and this is a live business that I know quite well. They have a specific day of the week where they put out a social media post, and it's a big driver to their website. People come back to their website for sale information once a week and what's on sale. And as you see here specifically, they know that sale information works because when that happens, traffic on their website skyrockets. They're busy on that day, and then they quiet it down, and then the week starts all often over and over again. So good example of a website's analytics can look like. Social media provides the same thing. You can provide how engaged, maybe not this type of graph, but how engaged your audience is, what posted the best, what type of people like your page, male, female, age grouping, geographic locations are important as well. Social media is the world. I mean, anyone could like your page, but you don't care if someone, potentially you don't care if someone lives in Hawaii or in Italy or in Turkey or wherever. They could be anywhere in the world, but if they're not going to buy your product, you don't care. You can actually find that information about, how active people are locally on your social media. You can also track if social media is coming back to your website, and if you're able to connect your analytics between the both platforms, you're able to see, yeah, they saw the post on Facebook. Yes, they clicked on the post on Facebook. They saw 3 different pages, and they bought a product as well. So I know that post did very well. So allows me to sort of bridge the gap between social and website analytics using data. And that allows me to understand the customer's digital purchase journey. So what did they do in order to make a purchase? So I can duplicate that in the future. Retargeting is also incredibly important. You are very familiar with this. If you've bought anything online, or you've tried to shop online, or you've been to a website, you have probably been retargeted. It's a data strategy where you target users based on the interactions they've done to your website. So an example of this is a specific page for you. So let's say you are an HVAC company. You deal with home heating and cooling. And you deal with a couple different suppliers, and you have a good relationship with those suppliers, and you may have some co-op dollars that the supplier gives you to market to people who are interested in their specific product. You may actually run a retargeting campaign targeting specifically people who visited that manufacturer's page on your own website. So let's say it's Tempstar, for instance, and you wanted to target people who visited the Tempstar page with an ad for Tempstar coming back to your location to buy. That provides all the co-op information that the manufacturer needs. You're only targeting people who are interested in that specific product, and you're potentially having someone else fund that marketing. So hugely beneficial to businesses if you're looking at co-op dollars and retargeting based on a specific page view. You can also look at abandoned carts. Like if you do any sort of e-commerce, you may want to say, okay, let's say you went through the process of looking at 5 products, you added 2 of them to your cart, and you didn't actually initiate checkout, or you didn't actually make a purchase. So we could then run an ad specifically to people who did not finish that purchase. And that ad can include a discount. It's Christmas in 5 days from now, as this time of recording. You've probably done most of your shopping. I hope you have. And if you haven't, you've got a couple days left to go. What I always recommend you do when you're shopping online is never make a purchase right away. Put it in your add to cart and then leave it. Let it sit for 24 hours, 48 hours, maybe 72 hours before you actually finally make a purchase. Not only does that stop the impulse buys that we all are problems with, or we have problems with, but it also gives the company a chance to remarket towards you. And that remarketing or retargeting can include discounts. How often have you received you know what, come back, here's 10% off, or here's free shipping, or here's something else that maybe encourages you to close that sale off. Hugely important for businesses to help make those sales happen. But as a consumer, you could potentially save money by not buying right away. Just put it in your cart and let it follow you around. You may see those ads on Facebook. If the client has your email address, you may get an email about that. There's different ways for them to target you, but they will find you, and you could potentially save some money. So a little bit of a pro tip here today. And I love this Christmas time. So I came across this when I was putting together the proposal or the presentation. So Fiona has some wonderful advice for couples who are dating in 2023 and 2024. I just overheard a woman say she uses her boyfriend's laptop to Google Christmas presents she wants so that he gets targeted ads. Communication in the digital age. A love story. This is a joke, but it's not far off from the reality. This is how advertising works in 2023 and 2024. So now that we're talking about 2024, what does the future bring for harvesting first-party data? It's not surprisingly going to be a lot of AI. Small businesses, they primarily use a couple different versions of artificial intelligence systems. AI has come a long way in the last 12 months, and it's going to continue to evolve and change and rapidly really disrupt our business and disrupt our industries in very positive and potentially somewhat negative ways as well. ChatGPT is probably the most familiar one to most of you. It is put together by a company called OpenAI. They own the majority of the good press that's out there right now, or majority of the press, period. It's a content generator, and that content can come in the forms of text or in photos and image generation as well. You tell it what you're looking for, you get it to do the research, and it can spit out content for you that you can then use for your website or social media. It goes a lot more complicated than that, but bare bones, that's ChatGPT. DeepL is AI-assisted translation. So it looks at your content you're producing and can translate that into a different language. In the Pontiac, that's incredibly important with Bill 96, the requirement of being bilingual for all businesses, and French first is also important. You may be an Anglophone. You may not actually be able to speak French. I'm okay in French. I grew up in the Pontiac, but my French is rusty. So I use DeepL to help translate some of my emails and some of my content I'm producing, and doing a little bit of tweaking where I know the difference between French and Quebec French is there, and I need to make a couple adjustments. AI on DeepL, if you pay for the paid version, will actually remember your tweaks that you've made, and it will continue to use those tweaks in future iterations when you're producing content. So the more you use it, the more it learns and the more it identifies this is the type of language you want to use as a business. So good little tool for everyone to take a look at. And then Midjourney. So I mentioned ChatGPT does images. That's great. I could type in, I'm looking for an image for a social media post, needs to be this size and needs to have these wonderful things. You saw the tractor with the cookies. That's an AI generated image. Midjourney is just focused on images, doesn't do content. It is one of the best image producers in the world out there. You feed it a lot of information, and it will then come out with variations that you could potentially use or tweak as you move along. And those things can be used for your website. Let's say you're in the shipping business, and I created this is what we call a prompt. So I told Midjourney what I'm looking for. In this case, I'm looking for a realistic photo of a man, white, mid-40s, small business owner looking at an iPad in front of shipping boxes. This was very basic. This is where I wanted to start off with, but it gave me 4 different examples. I turned mid-40, turned 45 tomorrow, actually. I'm glad I don't look like any of this. This seems a little bit older than mid-45 or mid-40. So we can do some tweaking on the age. We can make it younger. We can make it older. We can make it different races. We can make it women. We can make it kids. We can do anything we want to, and it will continue to regenerate photos that are appropriate for our website. It doesn't have to be a specific, like a live example of this. It could be of a product. It could be a bunch of different things. And this photo is going to come into importance in a few seconds here. In this case, I asked for a realistic photo of a muscular squirrel on a treadmill at a gym in the woods. So it made a human-looking squirrel who's obviously very excited to be running on the treadmill in the middle of the forest up here. So you could go very creatively with your images as well. AI uses, we've got all the tools. Now, what do we do with them? You can upload your data and let AI understand your business and customers. So I can upload some customer data and some other information, and it will do the analysis for me. It will tell me certain things that I may have missed. It will aggregate some data and give me some points that I could use to help with my business overall. It can help analyze my digital analytics. This is really scary stuff. I potentially can connect ChatGPT to my Facebook analytics and my website analytics, ask it to do the analysis of, what social posts perform the best on the website, which actually got sales or, leads coming out of it. Because social posts for the sake of social posts really don't mean anything to the business. You want to actually find what output, what's your end goal as a business goal, and that could be sales or et cetera. So ChatGPT can do the analysis for you, figure out what works, and provide more content specifically. That's going to be similar, that works already. So it really makes efficiencies for your business. It makes your content sing a lot better. Great use for AI. But also be aware, privacy concerns. If you're uploading specifically personalized data, like you have email addresses and phone numbers and contact information and genders and ages and birth dates and all this other information, it falls under Bill 25. So you can still do this, you can still do it, you can definitely upload it, but you have to declare it in your privacy policy that that's one of the uses you may be using it for. Also be aware, though, that putting your customer data into ChatGPT or financial data about your business into ChatGPT, then OpenAI owns that information and could potentially use it and potentially distribute it in some other form as well. So highly recommend keeping your sensitive data away from AI for the time being. This is going to be changing in the near future. Privacy laws and how they affect AI, it's brand new for everyone. It really took everyone by surprise to how quickly we've moved forward with AI. The laws are going to evolve in the near future. So just to summarize what we talked about today, we've discussed what types of data you can collect. We've discussed how you can legally collect it. Very important, that legally part. We'll talk about the reasons why you should be collecting data right now. But all this is very abstract. I'll give you a couple different examples. Let's look at a real example. Well, not real. This business isn't real, but similar to other businesses I've worked with in the past, and potentially what they could use that data for. So we talked about the squirrel earlier. So welcome to the debut of Pontiac Fitness. Pontiac Fitness does not exist as a business. It is not a business that lives here in the Pontiac. It is completely a creation of myself, and it's a bit of a test case for business owners to sort of wrap their head around a lot of digital concepts and be able to apply them with a business without having to release any specific information about my clients overall. So I used I think it was ChatGPT to design this logo. Came very close. I'm very happy with this logo. The only thing that's wrong with it is the squirrel, or in this case, the beaver, has broken his weightlifting into two. That's the only thing that's wrong with it. But other than that, it's absolutely ideal. It took me about 20 minutes to get to this point, but it made the logo perfect for what I was looking for. Pontiac Fitness, just a brief description, it offers access to a gym through a monthly membership, as well as some personal coaching. They sell apparel through their e-commerce store with a very popular mascot. They do it online as well, but or in store, but online is the most important part. And they have many uses for data that they gather and they utilize it for. So the first one is lead generation form. So they offer through a form a 1-hour free consultation if you sign up. So if you sign up for the form, no obligation, you don't have to become a member, but they will come in and sit down with you for an hour, talk a little bit about what your fitness goals are, and help you understand why Pontiac Fitness is the gym for you. So that lead generation form does collect data, very important for them. They also have a membership data. So whenever you become a member to the gym, it gets added to the membership database. That handles all your billing automatically. It handles your renewals, and it handles your key card access as well, because it's a 24-hour gym and you need to get in the middle of the night. You need to swap your key card to get access. That's going to help you move forward there. It also has the e-commerce store, which is done through WooCommerce on WordPress. Very simple, a couple of t-shirts, a couple tank tops or whatever with the logo. They also have a newsletter, which they sign up through MailChimp. And they do that retargeting or remarketing pixel. They use Facebook to retarget people who visited their website. So this is all their data collection that they have, as well as Google Analytics, which is by default. Now, what do they use that data for? Oh, I forgot. They also use the CRM. So CRM also has all the information in there. So the owner can go through it and actually get an idea of kind of what their clientele looks like. So you're a new customer. You're a thin squirrel. You're starting to work out, and you're wanting to start with a gym. So what do? You fill out a form on the website. That gets added to your CRM, and then for Pontiac Fitness, it gets added to the MailChimp, to Facebook, to QuickBooks, to WooCommerce. Gets card access once they become an actual paying member, and then Google Analytics tracks it all. So one form, multiple outputs, all of which is secure, all of which is held privately, and all of which can be accessed by the owner or anyone in the business at any time. And they do so and they implement the data strategy that uses things like drip email marketing. So things like MailChimp can actually create emails that are automated that you don't have to worry about. So it's not just newsletters, but if you sign up to a product or sign up to whatever lead generation form, let's say you were that 1-hour consultation, what Pontiac Fitness will do is it will automate a series of 3 or 4 different emails over a period of time that will talk a little bit about what are your health goals. Here are some trends that are coming out. This is why you should be working out at the gym. And those emails can be all very separate, and they come at various times after you've actually signed up, but it's ways to prompt you further along that purchase journey, getting you further and further and further down the funnel to where you actually make a sale. They use it for custom audiences. So that form sends the email address into Facebook, and then it connects that email that I have with the email you signed up with on Facebook and says, same person. Okay, so this person should be getting some advertising. I can advertise a specific offer to them just because I know that they are interested in my product. That's remarketing can be used as well. So maybe they visited the New Year, New You page. They didn't give me any information, but they just visited that page. So they're probably local. They're probably interested in creating or going to a gym, and they're probably looking to get healthier in the new year. Who isn't really, but this person has identified. They have shown intent, even without giving personalized information, and now can be retargeted with that advertisement on Instagram, for instance, with that more additional discount for signing up. And this one's cool as well. So if your keycard access, if you can actually get data on keycard access, you may be able to determine if a client is going to cancel sooner than they know. You may start to see a declining level of usage of that key card. And if you see someone who may not have been in the gym for 30 days, what Pontiac Fitness can do is, send them a personalized letter, an email, a physical letter, maybe even a phone call saying, hey, I haven't seen you in a month. Just checking in, seeing how you're doing. And if there's anything I can do to help you along with your journey, don't forget to ask. It's a way of retaining and reducing the churn that you have from a client perspective. So very good specific example with key cards that could potentially help your business retain those clients. All of this data strategy allows Pontiac Fitness to deliver more effective marketing to their customers, whether that be upselling or whether that be brand new customers. It helps convert those brand new leads into paying customers. It reduces the amount of customer churn, so they no longer have to worry about replacing those clients who are always leaving. And for any business owner, it eliminates manual work. You no longer have to transcribe all that billing information over, potentially get information wrong, and messing up your entire data strategy totally. Have it all automated. You can move forward and not have to worry about it. You could be doing this all on your own. There is grants available for you to help you out with creating a data strategy. So the one grant that I talk about quite a bit here is the Canadian Digital Adoption Program. CDAP is a Government of Canada grant that helps businesses, large or small businesses. And the biggest criteria is you have to have more than $500,000 of revenue, not profit, $500,000 of revenue to be able to access this grant. And what it does is it allows you to work with a specific advisor to help craft a data strategy plan for your business or a digital adoption plan. It doesn't have to be about data, but it's 2024 soon. It's going to be all about data. So you could potentially apply for this grant and work with me, because I'm an approved digital advisor, to craft a data strategy that helps you grow your business overall. So if you have not been familiar with CDAP or the grants available to you, I highly recommend looking at this grant program for you. And again, my name is Jon Stewart. I'm the owner of Calumet Media and Consulting. We are located in Otter Lake, but we service all of Eastern Ontario, Western Quebec, and the Ottawa region. More than 20 years of media experience, of marketing experience, helping businesses small and large understand how much data they have and how valuable it is to them. So I want to thank you for taking time out today and listening to me ramble a little bit about first-party data. This is the first of a series of presentations that I'll be doing in conjunction with the Pontiac Chamber of Commerce and the SADC Pontiac. Starting in January, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. We're going to go a lot further into all the tools that are available to be able to use through AI and how that can help you as a business. In February, we're going to be talking a lot more about analytics, understanding what good looks like and how to understand your data and make sure that you're making decisions based on the right data. And then in March, we're going to be lightening it up and talking a lot about video and what video can do to tell stories for your business. We do a lot of photos, we do a lot of text, but really the internet has moved towards a video medium, and there are lots of opportunity for you to expand your content or expand the stuff you're talking about with your customers by using video. So that will be our March presentation. All the information available in terms of ticket prices and locations are available on my website at CalumetMedia.ca or at SADCPontiac.ca as well. Again, my name is Jon Stewart. I want to thank you very much for your time today. It's been a joy talking to you a little bit about first-party data. If you ever want to get in touch with me, my email address and phone number are on the screen, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and enjoy.